Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to everyone joining us today. I am Tasveer Fatma Naqvi, a research associate from South Asia Research Institute for Minorities based in Istanbul, Turkey currently. And it is my pleasure to welcome today's honorable guest, Advocate Ambika Yadav, a legal advocate and a defense attorney in practicing in the courts of India. Our discussion today is particularly significant because we are observing the International Day commemorating the victims of acts of religious violence and beliefs. This day gives us an opportunity not only to remember those who have suffered because of their religious identity or beliefs, but also to reflect on some very important discussions and questions that we will be discussing further in the podcast. Thank you so much, Ms. Ambika Yadav, for joining us today. It is a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Fatima. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for giving me such an international platform to express my views, and especially on today's International Day. So,
You're welcome. You're welcome. We're also honored to have you with us. So, before we move towards the central theme of our podcast today, can you take us through your journey? What made you choose law as a career? And when did you realize that litigation was the path that you wanted to pursue?
see, I'm a first generation lawyer, and I was fortunate enough to realize in 10th standard that law was my calling. I would have either chosen law or I would have gone into journalism because I am not a technical person. I am not one who can sit on the laptop, do coding, decoding, because at that period of time, when I was in my school, computer sciences and those kind of fields were very lucrative and people used to go in that. But sooner I realized that no, I am a person who loves to interact with public, who likes to take up issues. So it was either journalism or law. I was fortunate to get admission into National Law University. It is one of the premier law colleges in India, and I'm a graduate of NLU Delhi. NLU Delhi gave me a very vast platform to understand that law is not confined to one sphere. I had an opportunity to work with a law firm. I got a chance to work with one of the leading Supreme Court lawyer of India, KTS Tulsi, is one of the leading criminal lawyer who has been litigating Supreme Court since time when Indira Gandhi ji was the Prime Minister. So I had got an opportunity to work under him. I had opportunity to work with top tier law firms. And soon I realized that I don't want to confine myself to a room and a laptop. I wanted a career wherein I get to interact with people. I get the opportunity to express my views. I have that autonomy of being expressive about my views and to take some stands. And so, yes, I thought being an arguing counsel or a litigation counsel will provide me with all those kind of job, parameters I'm looking for. So, soon after working in a law firm for a period of 2 years or so, I started my own practice. Here
Okay, so thank you so much for explaining that so clearly and in as simple terms as you can. I really appreciate that. So, since today marks the International Day for the victims of religious violence, what does this day means to you as a lawyer?
See, this day marks as a reminder that what Constitution guarantees us and what happens in the ground reality. So it's like a reminder call for us that if all the parameters and all the say the attributes or whatever you call them, the agenda behind the Constitution were achieved, then we would have not been in a position to discuss on this topic today. Violence
Absolutely.
based on religion or caste, it is one of the say it is a kind of a disease whose antidote is constitution and its provision, right? If all the provisions of constitution, be it of any country, like if I talk about Indian constitution talks about equality. It talks about laws that prevent discrimination on basis of caste, religion, creed. So, had all those ideals of constitution been achieved, then there would have been no point of discussing about these kind of violences, right? So that means we have a long way to go, and we have to achieve those ideals of constitution so that these kind of violence, these kind of crimes are eradicated from the society across the globe. So our focus here is as a custodian of constitution, as the watchdog of constitution, we have to ensure that every case pertaining to crime against any kind of crime, See, every crime based on religious beliefs, on caste, or whatever parameter, whatever be the reason, it is a crime against humanity at the end of the day, right? So these can be the reasons, whatever be the reasons. So if it is a crime against humanity, then as a lawyer, as it is my duty to stand against all those factors which lead to these kind of crimes. I mean, this is a reminder that I have to works toward achieving the parameters and the ideals of constitution so that these all diseases are eradicated from the society. These are all diseases. These crime against based on religion, belief, caste, or say genocide, humanity, violation of humanitarian law, whatever. These are all disease, but their only solution is upholding the provisions of the constitution. So it's a reminder that as a lawyer, in every case, I need to ensure that higher parameters of constitutions are achieved.
Thank you so much. You are right. Absolutely, you are right. Thank you for sharing that and your duties also as a lawyer. So, moving forward, from your perspective as a lawyer, what does constitutional secularism actually means? We are often hearing this word in our media in daily terms, that secularism. So, what does this mean from you?
See, as a lawyer, word secularism holds a very high pedestal in Indian constitution, especially our preamble. So, what secularism means to me as a lawyer is to ensure that you are impartial, you respect all the religions, yet you maintain a safe hand distance from promoting one religion. So it's giving you a picture that we respect all the religions which are being practiced in our country, but we do not make any attempt to promote one religion as a secular state. Maybe as an individual, you have a right to promote your religion. It is a part of the Indian Constitution. It is you have a right to propagate your religion. But as a secular state, as a custodian of constitution, holding any public office, I have to be neutral. I have to be impartial. In eyes of law, all religions is to be taken as on equal pedestal. That is what constitutional secularism means. So that means on a far-fetched note, or if we further evaluate it, it means that all the rights which have been guaranteed under the constitution, especially from 25 to 28, Article 25 to 28, which talks about religion, right to propagate your religion, right to not to be discriminated on basis of caste, color, creed, equality clause, everything. So 25 to 28 ensures that you have right to practice your religion, yet it imposes duty on the state to remain impartial. That is constitutional secularism.
You're right. Correct. Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Ambika. So, what are the biggest barriers faced by victims of religion based violence when they try to approach the legal system?
See, this kind of discrimination based on religion and caste, it is something which is not a byproduct or say a result of modern day thought process or practices. It is something which is embodied in the system and history of a country from time of inception. Like even when the country was not recognized on an international scale as a nation. So these kind of practices were always there. So these kind of practices needed to be curbed. That is why the constitution came into force, just to curb these kind of practices and give us the equal rights and opportunities to all the citizens. So, as a lawyer, since I told you at the very beginning, there is a long way to achieve all the ideals of the constitution. I mean, we have to go a long way. We have not still achieved them. Had we achieved them, then this topic would have not been the matter of discussion.
Correct.
So, when we go on a discussion about what yet to be achieved, we need to understand what is the problem which is coming in the way. First of all, this concept is something which is not new. So it is embodied in our brain since our fathers, grandfathers, etc., and all those like ancestrals came into it. So we need education and knowledge. We need to promote the idea that equality, basic human rights, respect for all is something which is there as a matter of human rights. It's a bigger realm to be, understood, not just right as a matter of something which belongs to my caste or my religion. No, your rights should not be confined to that small circle. You need to understand that human rights are bigger than constitutional right. It is a bigger genre from which all other rights come into force. So first is knowledge and information and the basic human values that has to be more incorporated, inculcated in the future generation, so that they stay away from all these inequalities and all these discrimination further leading to any crime to be committed. Secondly, is in our present day system, especially when I talk in context of India, first is people are not that educated when once they are being subjected to these kind of violences based on religion, right, caste. For example, if I take the example of one specific act, for example, SCST Act. This is a special law which is there in India to protect the interests of social scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So what happens in this act is the provision to the penal laws, they are very stringent, that whenever any act of violence is done against the people belonging to these particular caste and creed, so the law will take a stringent route. So what practically happens is that people are not aware about their rights. They may be belonging to that particular genre of society. They are scheduled caste, they are scheduled rights, but they don't know that there is a provision in law which gives them more power than a general caste person to enforce their rights. So there is lack of knowledge. Secondly, there is embodied caste discrimination, wherein the other person is not given an equal status even by the public servant. For example, there is a police officer. He's there to lodge an FIR. He's there to tell you about your rights. He will also not entertain you. He will also not make you aware about the special provisions of law pertaining to your caste or your tribe. So that kind of reluctance, and you can say that kind of ignorance, even from a public servant, is quite prevalent. Thirdly, the legal system is quite costly in terms of financial space, and also since the litigations are prolonged process, there are a lot of pendencies which are there. So these are the quite, I mean, three, four hurdles which are there, which are stopping us from achieving the higher relevance.
Okay. Okay, Miss Ambika. So, just like you mentioned, that the public servants who are not performing their duties correctly, and they are not making aware of the to the people about their rights. So, what do you think that what are the measures or what steps can we take to prevent this kind of behavior towards the general public?
See, I'll tell you, I usually do a lot of criminal matters. So I do murder cases, I do cases wherein there is rape, there is possible. So when I understand that whenever there is a violation of human body, maybe murder or rape or whatever it is. So what happens is when a victim approaches a public servant, over here public servant is the police officer we are talking about or the investigation agency, that person is not empathetic towards the victim. Rather, the victim is questioned that why you were there, what provocation did you make so that the accused went on extent of doing that particular crime. So it is always the victim which is questioned, and the public servants are reluctant to perform their duties because once you add new provisions of say of SCST Act to a murder case, you need to be very cautious in your investigation. You need to be more accountable in your investigation. So nobody wants to take that burden of being more cautious about their work. Everybody wants an easy pathway. Let's make a charge sheet, simple charge sheet, and let's do away with it. Why do you complicate something? So sometimes, like most of the cases, they don't even make an attempt to put on SC/ST sections so that they are saved from the heart. That is a very, that is a practical hurdle I have been witnessing in my cases also, that police is reluctant to put this section. And when the victim says that, you need to, I belong to this particular caste, you need to put down that section, then they are finding the loopholes. For example, they ask you for your birth certificate. If you belong to some say remote place in India, you might not have it, right? If your parents are SCST, it is expected that you are SCST. No, they want a caste certificate from you to justify yes that you are SCST. I mean that is your job to do, right? That is investigation jobs to do. But no, they don't want to put in effort. Once, I mean, a family who has lost their child, they are not in a position to go home, find the documents, and supply it to the police officer. I mean, that is something prima facie which is there. What is the harm in putting that section? But since their workload is increased, that is why they refrain from doing it. And most of the time, there is a situation when the accused person is at a stronger footing than the victim family. They always try to dilute the provisions. So I think I will not shy away from saying that corruption is one of the reasons wherein these welfare legislations like SCST Act, etc., are not put into picture. They are diluted to benefit the accused.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. That is very unfortunate that the people who are in power and who are responsible to take care of the general public, they have the behaviors like that. I hope that we see changes in the system. Not, I know, not very soon, but maybe slowly and gradually. So, moving towards our last question on this International Day commemorating victims of violence based on religion, what is the one message that you want people watching this podcast to take away with them? Like, what advice would you give as a lawyer to them?
See, as a lawyer and to the legal fraternity, I would like to say that to keep the rule of law strong, to achieve the main idea behind the preamble, to make this concept of rule of law applicable to every individual. The foremost step is to ensure that the most vulnerable one is given the legal support. He is given that parameter and the space to and the threshold so that he can exercise all his rights without any fear, without any external factors affecting him. To keep rule of law strong, we need to ensure that the last one standing in the queue, the most vulnerable one, is given a level playing field. Yes, for general public, that was for the lawyers and the legal fraternity. But as a general member of a general public, what they can do is they can ensure that this kind of discrimination, which is embodied in their upbringing, should be eradicated. They have to understand that human rights are at a higher pedestal than their individual religious rights. So, when you are murdering a person, you're not just murdering an individual or a person belonging to a particular caste. You are, you know, acting in violation of a human right. When group of people die, it is genocide. They have been killed, right? But when you are killing one individual, you are equally killing the human rights. So when you look at the picture from that perspective, I think everybody will be cautious in their approach towards the vulnerable.
Correct. I need, and at the same time, simultaneously, I think that we need more lawyers and more people like you in the countries like India or even Pakistan, where we have the criminal rate at such high point. So, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your perspective with us. We hope this conversation encourages all of us to think more deeply about religious freedom and the responsibility we share in building societies where differences in beliefs are met with respect rather than violence. So,
Yes,
on behalf
definitely.
of the South Asia Research Institute of Minorities, I would once again like to thank Ms. Advocate Ambika Yadav for joining and sharing her insights. Thank you so much, Ms. Ambika.
Thank you, Fatima. It was lovely connecting with you. Please take
Thank
care.
you so much. And to our users who will be watching us, thank you for joining this episode. This is Tasveer Fatma Nakwi signing off from the podcast.